Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Thank you guys for joining me on short notice. Saturday morning.
Saturday morning. Yes, yes.
Happy Saturday morning, everybody.
Happy Saturday morning, everybody.
So, I just want to ask those that are here with us, can you hear us? I see Ray, Ryan, Brenda, Karen, Shankar. Sweet. I'm glad you guys got the notification.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Good. Thanks, Brian. It's awesome. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on. And so, today was a rare day where I was up, actually out of bed before Cindy. That doesn't
Yeah.
almost ever happen.
No, because I make your coffee and everything. And
So she said, "What's going on in the world?" And I said, "Well, it's like the world's on fire." And she said, "Yeah, but what's new? What's really going on?" I said, "Well, it seems like it's more on fire."
more on fire than usual. It's kind of scary, actually. Normally, it doesn't bother me, but when we were going through the news today, yeah, there's more going on than I like to see, in a bad way. In a bad way, I don't like that.
Well, yeah, we could say bad, but then maybe it's also kind of necessary. We don't want to see, violence, but at the same time, there's most definitely huge changes going on, huge, and it's global. And this is a change in consciousness. People are truly waking up.
They are. The kids are coming into this world already woke, which is a beautiful thing. So I guess, it's kind of like growing pains.
It is, yeah. It's a changing of the guard, and I think it's the changing of a whole way of living in a system. And we had to make a run into town, so that gives us like 3 hours or so of driving yesterday. So we got to listen to some stuff and absorb what's going on. And there's just so much, and ultimately it's going to be a positive thing. And that's the big thing. It's going to be positive, but most definitely we are going through a time of trial and change. So I wanted to start off because I got this video from Ben, and Ben's a regular on both channels, and so he shared this. And just to get your guys' opinion, let's see what you guys, because we're going to kind of touch on a lot of different things here.
Well, you're pointing right there.
Down. It's over here. Right there.
Here.
Left. Right a little.
So, it's an unusual shape when you look at how it's flying, for one, because it almost looks like it's two big, huge wings. It kind of reminds me of the old school satellites, really. And I got a picture I'll show you up close.
It's gone.
So we're looking at this again right here.
You're pointing right there.
Down. It's over here. Right there.
Here.
Left. Right a little.
So we could see it right there. And I got a couple of photos I want to share with you guys. So this is a blow up of it. Because you could look at glance and think, oh, that's a plane, or maybe it's a drone. I asked Ben how high up he thought. He thought it was between 15 and 30,000 feet. Looking at the video, I would guess maybe 10 to 15,000 feet. I know there's limits on where you were allowed to do private drones, but then we have to look at the fact too that you got Amazon and you got all these other companies now out there, and they're flying drones. So we're going to see a lot of stuff in the sky, but this is a weird looking thing for sure. And especially because it was moving this part going forward. So it wasn't like these were wings moving this way. It was moving this way. So I don't know. It's unusual, but there's so much unusual stuff going on up in the sky. None of it surprises me. I think we're loaded with drones, and not just drones by individuals, but I think there's a ton of different military type drones. We had seen, and I shared with you guys before, we had seen some massive helicopter-ish drones that had like the weirdest wings. It was almost like they were
propellers.
Yeah.
Like propellers. Yeah.
They were just, they reminded me of...
Scary looking.
Yeah, and they were huge.
Yeah.
They were huge, and I so regret not getting a photo of that. So I wanted to share this with you guys and see what you thought of this. It's just, there's a lot of strange stuff. Yeah, Stephanie says, LOL, Michael has drones. Yeah, because there's so much up there. There's tons of military stuff up there, and there's tons of stuff that I don't think it's ours either. I think there's some ET stuff or interdimensional stuff going on up in the skies as well. And so I wanted to share this with you guys. So you guys remember Zeke? And that's Sassy. So Sassy is Zeke's partner in crime now.
Yes.
So Zeke has a partner now in crime, and they get along wonderfully.
They do, and she preens him, and she loves on him, and it's just really, they're perfect for each other.
They are. They're super, super good, both of them. And you see Zeke chewed the little squeaky out of his toy here. But they get along just so incredibly well.
Peas and carrots.
Most definitely. So I thought I would give you guys a picture of Zeke and Sassy. So if you do hear any barking, that's what's gonna be doing the barking there, Zeke and Sassy. So I wanted to bring this up again, and so I've done probably 4 or 5 videos about this website, and it's deagle.com. And it's all these signs and numbers going towards this one particular date, 2025, 2024, 2025. And why? What's up with the programming? We watched a couple movies lately, and I totally think Netflix is giving us, a lot of, what would you say, messages?
Yeah, they're giving us clues, hints, about 2024, and then Deagle, the website. I'm not even sure who runs Deagle, but they're talking about this massive reduction in population in 2025, which is really kind of creepy. And as much as I don't want to cause fear, I think it's fair that people are aware of what Deagle sees and what the population reduction is. So if nothing else, we can be prepared for some hard times. I don't see any harm in that, pointing stuff out.
No, most definitely. And then you got to wonder, why is it now? I mean, it's just constant. For those of you guys that haven't seen this before, so Deagle, it's all about military. It's military exhibitions, military shows. You see Dubai Air Show. Over here, new Chinese assault rifle to support advanced infantrymen. Serbia orders at least one Panzer S-1 air defense system. The DoD selects Microsoft to provide Jetty cloud services. You just see it's everything military news. Everything military news. It's what it's all about. And so this is what they track. They track everything happening militarily, mostly with equipment and things along those lines. But they also have this forecast. And this is like just so ominous. It's just so ominous because where do they get this from? And when they were pressed about these numbers, they basically said, well, it's going to be doing with a lot of migration, migration out of the country, because you see the U.S. current year 2017, that's when this was done. They do adjust this from time to time. 327 million people in the U.S. That's 9.6 million square kilometers, 34 inhabitants per square kilometer. So that gives you the population density. And when you look at different things too, okay, here's the gross domestic product, 19 trillion. And per capita GDP, 59,274. Gives you the budget. It gives you the military budget, right? 637 billion. And imports, exports. Now the forecast for 2025, population 100 million. And the population density, 10 inhabitants per square kilometer. The GDP is revised downwards to 2.4 trillion per capita, purchasing power, and the military budget down to $32 billion from $637 billion. If these guys are paying so much attention to everything that's happening militarily across the globe, how could they, possibly say this? Could they screw up so much to make this forecast be so unrealistic? Or what do they know that we don't know, is that they're forecasting this amazingly enormous population decline? It's just kind of crazy. And I've done, as I said, I think 4 videos on this. And I know this was one of the main things that really hit the channel hard, because I know they don't like, and when I say they, the powers that be don't like these type of things being pointed out. If we look at the UK, 66 million people, which breaks down to 268 inhabitants per square kilometer, right? Goes down to 15 million people, 59 inhabitants per square kilometer. And the military budget down 1.4 billion from 56 billion. How could they possibly forecast that? So when I went through the list, I found that it was all the NATO countries that had huge population declines. The NATO countries plus the allies of the U.S., because it was the same thing with Japan, 126 to 103. Not as bad, but still about 20% reduction. But yet it wasn't, and Germany, is bad as well. Germany goes from 81 million to 28 million. And France, 67 to 39. But when we look at China, 1.4, 1.4, it stays the same. Military budget actually increases. So, from 226 billion to 310 billion. So that was interesting. We look at Russia. Russia stays the same as well. There they are. 142 million. Military budget actually doubles. So interesting, and then when you look at some countries close to the U.S., like Mexico, they stay the same. So, because some people were saying, well, this has to be Earth changes. But why is it Earth changes along geopolitical lines? Because that's what we really, really have here. South Korea, take South Korea, for instance, 51 million to 37 million. So that's 14 million less people. That's like, almost a 30% decline right there. And then the numbers for North Korea, I think, were not even given. It's one of those anomalies. But it's interesting because, again, it's all those countries. Australia, 23 million to 15 million. So there's 8 million people missing. Again, that's, a big chunk of the population. What could they possibly do to forecast this? It doesn't seem to make any logical sense. And, we have man-made earth change, perhaps, Ray says. Could be. Definitely plague. Okay, but if it is a plague, then is it something that's a military attack? Because it's not affecting Russia or China or India. I believe is basically stays the same. India stays the same, 1.3, 1.3. I want to say Pakistan, I thought, stayed about the same. And, so it was really curious, really, really curious to see this. Okay, Switzerland's always neutral, but still 8.2 million to 5.3 million. So that's a big decline. Brazil increases slightly. Actually, it seemed like most of the countries in Latin America stayed the same or had increases, which made me think, I wonder if they're also forecasting some of the population getting out of the U.S. and Canada, because Canada also has a pretty good decline here, 36 to 26, right? That's a big, big drop. So it's super curious, and I know there's always new people coming in, and wanted to make you guys aware of this because it's really a curious thing. And again, this is that 2025 year, and I've heard from many bringing up 2024 as a key year. And hey, let's not forget. And let me hand this off to you right now. I'm going to look something up.
Well, I was thinking about the movie we watched. What was it called? The name? Anyway, yeah, they had 2024. There was like mass riots, and it just keeps coming up. And I don't want to fearmonger, but at the same time, I really, really want people to have the opportunity to know what we know, give you a chance to get ready, whatever you can do. I think the best defense is to get healthy, really. Work on your health. Work on learning how to grow some things, make friends with your neighbors. We have some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. And so, see, that's the hard thing, because it's like, and that's why I also made EE Arts, because this is a very diverse family that we have here. Very, very diverse. And honestly, there's some people that just, they don't want to know. They don't want to know, they want to just focus on, or maybe they know, but they just don't want to be reminded. They want to focus on the positive. So over here, I decided the only way to kind of go ahead is to touch more on, the type of videos that you would see on the Higher Self channel, for instance, going into spirituality, doing messages on, how to lift up our vibrations, things like that. So that's what we're doing on this channel, because we're very diverse. I mean, there's a ton of people here that really want to basically keep up to date with all the earth changes, all the disasters that are going on, everything that's happening geopolitically as well. And there are others that just want to focus on the spiritual and also on like QiGong and just bettering themselves. So this way, those that want just the spiritual messages, they're going to be over here and also researching more of the spiritual things. And then we're going to keep going with current events and stuff on the main channel or the first channel. And it is all connected, most definitely. And so, I want to always help those that want to prep and are preppers, and getting ready for everything as well. And also, keep touching on the spiritual side of it. And it's good I think it's really good when we can look at things from all different levels. So the other thing I was bringing up is this. And I feel like everything changed right here. I really feel like everything changed on August 21st, 2017. I was in Florida, and I did a little videotape of the eclipse down there. And just the energy felt weird. And then here we have that 2024 date, April 8th, 2024. And you see, you know, and interesting, because it crosses right over the area where the New Madrid earthquake would be and was in the past. Is that a coincidence? You know, is this some sort of symbolic sign? You know, there's people that don't think that the sun and the moon are exactly what we are told by science as well. And
well, it's not, you know. Then they came out with, oh, the moon is actually in our atmosphere, you know, and also the thing that happened after the first eclipse in 2017. I don't know if anyone else felt the energy, but the energy was like super wild and crazy. I got chills all over my body. It's like I could almost see shadows. It was so strange. And then it was in Hawaii. Which one? Kilauea? Was it Kilauea? Erupted in Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In April. I think so. I forgot what month, but yeah, that seems like it started some sort of a domino thing, and things haven't been quite the same. So that's a really good point. April 8th, 2024, and that date again.
Yeah, most definitely. So then this kind of goes along, and then there was a, and I have it on one of my videos or two of my videos before, and I've done videos on this eclipse, and I've also done many videos on Deagle. But there was also an Agenda 21 map with the same sort of population numbers that came out. And, you know, again, is that just pure coincidence? What is going to happen? Well, you know, one of the other things I wanted to touch on today, we're talking about the world on fire. It's all about the protests that are going on all over the place. As you see here, Yahoo News, a surge in protests around the world in October. The past weeks have seen a wave of often unprecedented protest movements erupt in countries around the world. And so this is touching on some. Bolivia, Bolivia, landlocked country in South America, one of only two that are landlocked. A lot of people are expatting to Bolivia because the cost of living is incredibly low. And it's been really a relatively peaceful country. But you're seeing change there as well. So the win since October 21st, the trigger, disputed results of the October 20th presidential election, which gave outgoing leader Evo Morales almost outright victory for a fourth term. State of play, there has been violence in several regions. A general strike was launched on October 23rd. The toll, several people have been injured in clashes between supporters and opponents of Morales. Chile, obviously. Chile's a huge one. Since October 18th, an increase in the price of metro tickets was the trigger. And at first, when you looked at it, it was a lot of school kids just kind of being a little bit on the rowdy side, just jumping past, the stalls where you got to pay and all that. But then it's escalated incredibly. You have 18 dead there. And that's probably going up as we're speaking. Lebanon, since October 17th, a proposed tax on calls made through messaging apps. And so the government of Saad Hariri quickly axed the measure and announced emergency economic reforms, but the protests have widened to demand the removal of the entire political class. See, what's happening is people are seeing that it's working. They saw it with the yellow vest too, because the same situation. Something gets put into play that really ticks off the populace. The populace shows they're ticked, and then they drop that. And then now it's getting to the point where people want more than that. They realize that, and I was going to hold off getting into this, but they realize that they have power. They have power and can really affect change, even when the governments are so strong militarily. And I did a video that went up on Patreon, and let's see if I could bring this up, because you guys might not have seen this. But again, right here. 70% of Americans, this was done in a poll, believe the second civil war is upon us. 70%. Does that shock you guys? Does that shock you or not really? Did it shock you?
You know what? I do believe it because the media pushes so much stuff, but I really wonder how much is it they are pushing the fear to get a reaction and maybe even manifest it, and how much of it could be true. It was concerning, definitely concerning.
Well, most definitely. And so the thing is this being cultivated? That's my question for you guys. Do you guys feel all this is being cultivated? There's a lot of different things going on, obviously, in different countries. And getting back to this, you also have Guinea as well since October 7th. The accusations that the president there was trying to circumvent a bar on a third term in office. Thousands of people joined demonstrations organized by an alliance of opposition groups. About 10 people dead. Ecuador. From October 1st to 13th, the scrapping of fuel subsidies. After 12 days of protests, President Lenin Moreno and the indigenous movement, which has spearheaded the demonstrations, reached an agreement under which the government reinstated the fuel subsidy. So you see, every single time the protesters are actually getting change. 8 killed, 1,340 injured. It's sad that that it's come to this, and that you see, the protests, they do turn violent, and these protesters, so many of them have gotten killed. But they have obviously enacted some change that they wanted. Here we have Iraq since October 1st. Spontaneous calls on social media to protest corruption, unemployment, poor public services. The poor people of Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, think about what they've gone through. It's just horrendous what they've gone through. And, it's obvious that, if anybody has a complaint in this world, there are definitely some that have legitimate complaints. So after a week of protests that quickly escalated into clashes with security forces, the government announced reforms. Protesters continue to demand an end to corruption and unemployment and an overhaul of the political system. On October 25th, protests resumed with new upsurge of violence fanned by Shiite political leader Muqtada Sadr. And so over 150 dead, at least 12 on Friday alone. And ongoing movements, we have Hong Kong, obviously, and that has resulted in some concessions. The big thing was extradition to the mainland, which really ticked people off. And so that stopped, but it's still ongoing. Algeria as well. And there's more going on than most people really recognize. Biggest demonstrations yet. Rock protests stricken Chile. Huge demonstrations. As many as 1 million Chileans protested on Friday. That's the biggest one yet. Somehow it feels like this is really just getting started globally. The Yellow Vest movement, I think it definitely provided a spark for so many others to start doing their own. And when we look at everything that's going on in this world, I think a big part of this is people are waking up to the bigger picture. They are truly waking up to the bigger picture. They're recognizing the obvious lies and BS that constantly goes on. You see, federal deficit increases 26% to $984 billion for fiscal 2019, highest in 7 years. It doesn't matter, again, if it's a Democrat or a Republican. And it really doesn't, because everything keeps moving in the same way. So we see here, this is Debka. Lebanon's nationwide protests could lead to civil war. And you gotta just wonder, what are we going to be looking at in 6 months to a year? Mass protest imperil Iran, Hezbollah bastions in Lebanon and Iraq. Hezbollah deploys special anti-demo squad. We've seen a whole lot of new technology coming out, military technology that in many cases can be used, most definitely, to dispel crowds. Interesting, isn't it? There's so much going on right now. Americans hate all the partisanship, but they're also more partisan than they ever were. And this is what I was talking about in this, saying, and this is part of what we're seeing all around the globe. People are tired of governments. They're tired of the governments in general. They're tired of the system, the status quo. Obviously there's been a move with those forces that we call the globalists. It's easier for them to control things if they have huge central governments, obviously. And the big central governments become these big monsters that just consume. And they end up consuming our taxes. They end up consuming resources, and they become just these unwieldy, huge, massive messes that are just unmanageable. And they're too diverse too, because as I was touching on this video, somebody living in LA, their life is so different than somebody living in a small farm in Nebraska or Iowa. And again, so different from somebody, living down in Louisiana. And you can't really compare that, as far as they're going to be, their belief system, the things that mean a lot to them. It's going to be totally different than somebody living in Seattle. We are a huge country, and take Europe even, and Europe's going through its issues as well. Russia's going through their issues as well. Russia's got a lot of things going on. Russia, well, the U.S. leaves northern Syria, quote unquote, and you see Russia deploys a large number of troops, equipment in northern Syria. U.S. armored convoys filmed entering Syria's oil fields. Did we really leave? They said, Trump said we were going to leave. We're leaving. But then we got all these videos of the convoys going right back in to the oil fields. Again, they sell us, they sell us patriotism. They sell us liberating people. But the average people get killed, and the average people go through misery. And, the government that comes in, is it better than the last one? You could only ask the people that are living there, truthfully. Mission unchanged. U.S. to send troops and machines to guard Syrian oil interests, because this is what it's always been about. It's always been about the resources. It's not about liberating people. And Keith says, thank you so much, Jeffrey. Thank you for your support, and the super chat is greatly appreciated. And Keith says, Trump is a Scottish Rite Freemason and a Jesuit. He is not a friend of the people. And so I encourage you guys to go check out Santos Bonacci. We were listening to him talking about who really runs this world. The Jesuits and the Vatican, and other as well. Obviously, the Red Shields, which we have talked about. And I know Fred knows what I'm talking about there, as well as many others. So it's the families, and also most definitely the Roman Empire, which has never really ever dissolved. It's just changed. It's just morphed. That's all it's done. So we need to recognize that this is all about control, and it's horrible for the average person. It creates tremendous refugees and tremendous refugee problems. And so it makes me sad a lot to hear people complaining about refugees coming into different countries, when it's really these type of things going on that creates the refugees in the first place. Here we see out of Zero Hedge Sikh workers at mafia-backed Italian slave farms are starting to fight back. And so these people, which come from India, they come from Pakistan, different places. Again, if you're talking about the U.S., there was a wave of Irish immigrants that came in during the potato famine. And of course, some of the ones that were already here didn't like that. And so they would get, horrible with them and beat them, attack them, all sorts of things, treat them horribly. It's still going on. It's just the people change, the groups that are coming in change. But again, it's because of the system that's all around us. This is horrible. And so you have this 146-year-old immigrant from Punjab saying that the owner beat me, showed me his gun, and told me I'm with the mafia, and if you ever talk, I will bury you in a ditch where your body will never be found. You got 22,000 Sikhs picking fruits and vegetables on farms in the city of Latina. And so they are being treated like slaves and like second-class citizens. And then, of course, there's everything that's happening in Europe. But recognize that so many people that have left Syria, it's because, everything that they knew has been destroyed, bombed. And, they're at the mercy of whoever will take them in. And we're talking about too big. This is the financial fragmentation of the Eurozone. Of course, the globalist forces, it's way easier to control through one central government. And of course, there's so many people that will, point out the beast system. And we are in the beast system. We've been in the beast system since Roman times. See, they get us looking so far out and thinking, oh gosh, this is going to come. This is going to happen. It's been in place for thousands of years. It's been in place. It's already here. We need to recognize that. And so we see, with the European Union, and the whole Brexit situation, and these, again, the urge by those in power is to make as big of a government as possible and as strong, and there's reasons why there's so much military spending, and they keep pushing for the military spending. And it was brought up so well, and I think it was Santos Bonacci that was saying, again, just reiterating, it's not really so much about protecting us. It's about protecting their interests, and that's why the militaries are so large. And then we got all this going on over in California. Bigger, longer blackouts could lie ahead in California. And this is PG&E. PG&E was headed by a Red Shield, and it's the Red Shield Corporation that was getting sued and declared bankruptcy, so you guys understand what I'm talking about. And this whole situation going on, I'm trying to think of the guy's name again. I think it was a Plain Truth. I didn't show you this, Cindy, but somebody else had said, check out Plain Truth. And he shows on his video from last night, like this massive explosion up in Northern California, and just questioning, what is it? What is it? And we got to look at this, and you got more fires coming on. They have more blackouts than ever. It's getting worse. And so why would a company that has so much financial backing do such a horrible job? Really, because that's what it is. Nobody, were they just cheap? They're not putting any money into the equipment? Is that all this was? That, it's just more dividends for the, for the rich people there that own these corporations? We didn't start the fire. Yeah, exactly. And most definitely, it feels like this is, I think people are waking up to the fact that, could they be this incompetent? Could they be this inept and incompetent? Or is there something else going on here? Fred says, yeah, they own the Weather Channel too. Yeah, they do. And there's lots of interest. Oh, freak, I forgot to make a video on something that Keith had sent me. Yeah, Sandra says they're burning California out. And there's some really curious patents out there by them for satellites up there that have interesting abilities. Yeah, I know this video is going to be demonetized, so at this point, though, they demonetize everything. They basically demonetize it for like 22 hours, because in 24-hour period, you get 90% of reviews, and then they'll review it and say, hey, you're good to go. Great news. But by the way, we just took away all your funding. So, that's exactly what they do, because they try to hit you where they can. And obviously they're all about money. But that's why there are other alternatives coming up and growing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like with this, the new technology with the 5G and how convenient it would be for them to say, well, the electric lines aren't working anymore, so we're going to have to find a way to shoot electricity around. And, these fires are a perfect way to maybe introduce 5G, which is like really super bad for us. The EMFs, I've done a little bit of studying on that. And it goes in and it tears your DNA, and it sort of tears you down, and you get weaker, and cancers can come in, and then we have all of the little, I think we have the little bots in our body. What are those called again?
Nanobots.
Yeah, the nanobots. And between those and then turning on 5G, and oh my gosh, there's all kinds of stuff that it feels like they're lining up something here in California with having these rolling blackouts, and the 5G is just going to happen to be there. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Morganic Farms, Kansas. We're so grateful. Thank you. Appreciate it so much. Yeah, they're starving us out. What's really good though is that everybody on this channel, you guys are so awake. And that warms my heart. That gives me hope to see you guys. And, we can grow if you can talk to your family members here and there over Thanksgiving dinner, maybe without starting an argument. And just sort of gently nudge people to prepare a little bit without fear. I'm not sure exactly how, everybody's Thanksgiving works, but we do talk a little bit around the table. We do, just a little. And I don't think politics are like the best thing to talk about, but just try to wake them up a little gently, because usually people, when they're eating food, they're kind of more open. I'm not sure why.
So Brenda says, anybody know why they're messing with ham radios? Because obviously, more people that have ham radios, we're going to be able to communicate when the power goes down, and we know it's coming. So that's why they want to, again, fragment us, fracture us. They're getting us ready and getting us used to being in the dark for periods of time. I think we should do. I'm feeling a strong pull to go to California. So I'll let you guys know when, and if anybody wants to meet up with us, we'll let you know, and maybe we could get a little get together or something. I'm not sure how many of our people are over there, but I know we have quite a few family members in California, so it'll be really cool. There'll be a lot of people to meet. Would love to. We spend a lot of our time very close, to that area, so we like to travel, and we really like Sedona and Flagstaff area a ton, and we also have a lot of friends out there in the Southern California area as well. It's so sad because California is such a beautiful, diverse state, and I think most of us would agree the geopolitical situation there is probably the worst, or one of the worst as far as any of the states. And again, is that done on purpose? because it is such, well, for one, it's a breadbasket. It really is. So much is produced there. And look at Florida too. Look at the toxic waters. Let's not forget about the red tide. Let's not forget about the algae that has been almost weaponized by these companies just spilling their crap into Lake Okeechobee and other bodies of water, and then that ends up poisoning things. I mean, the die-off, I was there for a tremendous die-off. I was walking on the beach with like fish everywhere, and honestly, man, it took me almost till now to get totally over the red tide. It was brutal. It was horrible. I know I inhaled too much there. So they are doing it. They're hitting us in a lot of ways. Look at Texas as well. I mean, Texas is such a critical, powerful state, and it really could be a country all to its own and do really well because it's so diverse with so much natural resources. But at the same time, look at the flooding that was going on there. Intense. The same thing with Nebraska and Iowa. Incredible flooding. I think more and more of us now, more than ever, don't think that this is all totally natural. We really don't. I don't think anybody that has their eyes really, really open could think, well, this is all completely natural.
Well, and it's all just too convenient how I've seen the 5G towers go up in California. And they're really pushing it, and they have it in schoolyards and stuff. And strangely enough, I think the fire departments were actually able to push back so that they don't have 5G towers. But yeah, I feel like something's getting set up here with 5G.
So Caroline says Marines took back the port of Long Beach from China. Can you give us more info? Because I mean, I see some comments. And some people make comments that you're just like, please tell me more.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Exactly. Yeah. What do you know? What are you getting? Where are you getting it from? Because there are so many different sources out there. Ray says, getting ready for the chip or the mark. There was the mark, so to speak, back in the ancient Roman Empire as well. Think about the system. It's still the same. You take over an area, you utilize the people to govern themselves.
Oh, thank you so much, Judy. Wow, I appreciate that, you guys. It's really helping. I mean, they're so choking the channel, and we really want to help people. It's I don't know. I think that something is going on, and if we give out good information, it just feels like they're diverting the views. It just feels like it because we're busy replying to people via email, Facebook, but it seems like the views are getting more and more suppressed. So thank you so much.
But I've seen that on other channels as well. It's just amazing how they suppress them. I'm trying to think of this guy's name again. Kaninigan. You guys familiar with Kaninigan? Because he talks about openly the same stuff that David Icke talks about. Reptilians, Draco, secret government, all this stuff. And his first channel got completely taken down, completely. And then now his second channel, he's got decent viewership again, but all his views are like 300, 500. There's more people watching than that, and I see it too because the videos come out and they're running ahead of where they should be typically running if they're going to finish up at a low number. And then all of a sudden it's like they put the brakes on and it just stops. But there is a new algorithm that they have that they're using. And again, I don't think it's really about, anything to do with fairness or helping anything. I think it's totally all basically censorship is what it is. And so, we are using other venues as well, like Brighteon and BitChute. There's no way at this point in time to really make money on them, to keep yourself afloat. But other venues are coming up, and so there is a counter push going on, and it's a beautiful thing. So, that will get stronger and stronger. But at the same time, we know that their plans and everything are moving forward as well. And so, somebody just said something. Okay. Sweetgrass said, if you carry a cell phone or a credit card, you've been chipped. Even state driver's license and IDs. Yes. And the V word that she said there, which we don't say. We don't say the V word.
We don't say it because we get in trouble.
Oh my God. Yeah.
We've had 2 accounts shut down because of that.
And that's huge. That is huge.
Oh,
thank you,
Keep the truth
Paul.
flowing, Paul. Absolutely, you guys. Till the end, we're on it. Thank you so much. Wow.
And we've had weird things going on as well. Bizarre things that I hesitate to tell you guys about, but it's par for the course because we don't know exactly. Well, we recently got some cameras because we've had some strange things going on around us, so
Yeah.
Things that I could only take as messages.
Yeah, subtle messages, it could be something that maybe we forgot or maybe, an oversight, but we really don't think so. So we got some cameras. It's just like if you're out there and you're telling the truth, you're going to suffer. And I heard someone say one time, don't go for the throat, go for the pocketbook. And it's true. That does hurt. So you guys, it really counts. We appreciate it.
Yeah, Ray says it happened again. Yeah, I found 3 little interesting things in my pocket.
We'll text you, Ray.
So yeah, I feel like we've definitely gotten messages to that you should shut up. Pretty much, I'll put it that way. So thanks, Keith, for saying that for me. That's it. And that's a huge tool that I think they are using, have been using, but I think they have something. My gut says there's something really major planned there, and mandatory as well. It's that's what I think it's going to be. It's going to be something that's mandatory for like everyone.
If it's such a good idea, why do they have to force it? That's what I don't understand. And it's for parents, it's a very personal decision. I would just encourage them to really do your research before you expose anyone and yourself or any of your loved ones to that.
So Riser says why would they call an asteroid Apophis? They do all that stuff all the time. Death and destruction. They love to do it because, again, I think it goes back to the video that we did on Loosh. And how some of these entities, they're multidimensional and they feed off of energy. Think about it. They really feed off of the energy.
Sandra Martin, trying to find natural meds to replace my prescriptions. Absolutely. That's what I did. I was on not too long ago. I was on about, oh my gosh, they probably had me on 5 or 6 different prescriptions. And slowly it did take me about a year to get off of all of them because there's some I went off by crumbs because the side effects, and this is done on purpose, I think the side effects can be lethal. You can, like seizures, for example, and heart palpitations. So yeah, I do encourage you to look into natural alternatives, and the internet's a pretty good friend. Just do your research and get healthy.
Crystal Core says we are all multidimensional, and that's true. That is most definitely true. Just the fact that that's actually, I think, a big part of why they do the V word is to keep us in a lower frequency. They're using different techniques to keep our pineal glands from awakening, so we could basically move freer through the dimensions, have a more positive impact on our own reality. This is part of the bigger picture, without a doubt. And
It
it's
is.
so good to see all you guys here. I know Martin joined us again, and
Wow. You guys are just so awesome. You guys are so awake. It just feels so good to connect with you guys on the live feeds. You know, I don't say much when he's doing his videos throughout the week, but I totally look forward to the weekends now because I think we're going to try to make it a regular thing to go live.
yeah, we definitely want to.
That would be great.
Joni Mama says that she had sleep paralysis for over 30 years. Loosh was the only thing that fit what was going on, like Monsters, Inc. Exactly. You know, all these movies.
I've seen that movie, that Kids Monsters, Inc. Have
Yeah.
you seen it?
Oh, yeah. That was.
Oh, yeah. That was fabulous. And yeah, I'm so sorry. I hope you're doing better.
Yeah, you know, and that's why, like, on the EE Arts channel, I did a video on something called the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, which does work get rid of nasty entities. And it's a Judeo-Christian based ritual, but you could adapt it any way you want.
Yep, you can customize it. It can be used, you know, in any venue, even higher self.
Yeah, almost definitely. You could just tailor it to yourself and your belief system. The important thing is basically just tapping into your higher self. You know, tapping into source, and intentionally driving away anything dark and malignant, because there are dark entities around us. You know, pretty much all of the time. And, you know, Cindy could sense them. Her daughter can sense them, too. She was just born with a real gift. And she actually sees them clearly.
She calls them goblin angels. And they're very real. And they do cause problems. And I've had sleep paralysis in the past. And that did work wonders for me.
Yeah, Sandra Martin says get a cat too, and you know that's what I did. I shared with you guys when I got my first apartment. I was 18, by myself, and I had 2 nights in a row with sleep paralysis, and it was really hard to fight it off. So then I ended up getting a cat, which did help, at least as far as moral support, and then just knowing when the cat's seeing something. But really, what happened was, as far as like my practice with the energy work and drawing the light force in for me, and also just my whole structure and belief system in the energy, as well as some dreams that I feel were given to me as guidance, just to let me know we can drive these things out in a way. Most definitely.
Yeah, every little bit of carrots have more potassium than bananas. These little things are not shared to us in school, and I wish they were, and that's why I like to see a little bit of these little tips and tricks there on the channel, you know, as far as health goes, little things that you can change. And if you can get your vitamins and minerals through food, it's always superior to that than like pills.
Riser the Outsider said they moved into a new house and asked me for some suggestions of how they could cleanse their house, and they did what I had recommended, and it worked. So awesome.
Wonderful.
So good to hear. You know, it's true. Honestly, there's stuff all around us all the time. And, you know, as we were talking about all this, you know, I was just letting my gaze go soft because I could see like energy in the room here, and just trying to discern what it is. There's so many different layers to this, so many different dimensions. And I think that people were so in tune in the past, and really, you know, all the things that they're doing, including the 5G, you know, this is all about, you know, just locking us down, shutting us down. Most definitely the fluoride in the water, you know, is all about calcifying the pineal gland, making people more complacent, less questioning, more lethargic mentally. It's all a huge plan that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, and it's a grand plan too. You know, when we were listening to Santos Bonacci yesterday, he was talking about, you know, this goes all the way back to the Templars, you know, how they took them out, and this ongoing thing. And then, how they control us and they manipulate us, and they use money, they use education to do it, and it's just not fair. And we just want to try to get as far as the truth out as the best we know how, and the best truth that we know.
Yeah, most definitely. And so Comfy Cushion says they've been doing the ritual over and over in their head. And yeah, you could do it just mentally in your head as well. That is definitely something that will work as well. It did work. And actually, it's happened to me before. When I moved into this one house, there was this entity that used to live there. It was a human entity. It was a man. And the basement was really large, and this house was, well, it was full of energies, and I didn't do a cleansing right off the bat, which I should have done, but it charged right into the bedroom and like really attacked me like outright, and I could just see this red aura all around it. It was real red because it was just all anger and like, what are you doing in my house? Exactly. It's just like he kind of grabbed me by the shirt, basically. So, immediately got up and, did sage and did the ritual in every room, and it went away. But there are all sorts of entities around us.
And the sage is really curious because it does actually kill bacteria, and it changes like the ether in the room, so they really do have to leave. I was doing that, working with my daughter, and there was one in the room, and she asked her angel, what do I do? And the angel said, burn sage. And it doesn't have to be sage, but you do need to burn smoke, and they have to leave. It's almost like a physics thing. They can't stay.
And, I see a lot of people talking about the fluoridated water. Mm-hmm. So you bought a tester.
I did.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're getting when you have bottled water. You really, really don't know what you're getting. So we've been, just sampling and testing bottled water or tap water, and even the water that we're distilling to make sure that, it's free and clear of everything. Because a lot of the bottled water is just tap water, and a lot of it's fluoride in it too.
It is, and I haven't broke open that tester, but maybe we could do a show on that too.
Yeah,
when we do test it, just get different bottles of water and see what's in them.
Yep, most definitely. Yeah, most bottled water is just kind of tap. It says purified, but you can't trust it, and so much of it just tastes like crap. Somebody asked what's the best bottled water. Honestly, I don't know.
Smart water is what I heard has the lowest fluoride in it, if any.
Yeah, I do think the best thing is distilled and then taking in some minerals to make sure that you're not losing the minerals.
Definitely. I make a mineral water solution. I take like a gallon of distilled, and I take 3 or 4, and I put this in a glass jar, mind you, and I take 3 or 4 scoops of Himalayan salt, maybe tablespoons, and I let that soak overnight, and that's what I put in our water sometimes, because it helps you absorb. If you don't have the minerals, a lot of times your body's not going to want to absorb.
So you see here, this out of The Guardian, about 41% of the world's people are under 24, and they are angry. And so what this is getting at is that the change is being driven by the youth. So my mom and dad, they were people that lived, they're members of the greatest generation, or what's called the greatest generation. And, beautiful people, I want to share that I was a retirement community manager. So many people in the retirement communities that I ran, a lot of them were World War II vets, Korean War vets as well. And, I think these people, honestly, were a little bit more innocent in so many ways. They're beautiful people, and every generation's a little different. I think people now, maybe we're a little more cynical. Maybe we're also just simply waking up. And I think the youth are obviously leading the charge when it comes to change. Now, is that just, testosterone, young, youthful testosterone, some of it perhaps. But I think the consciousness is just different. For one, as we said before, we have the internet now. So we could see things that are congruous and are going together. And we could see patterns. We could see, what's happening in other countries as well. And people could look at, say, the Yellow Vest movement, and they are. And they saw, it worked to at least stop some things. And so, they're grabbing the bull by the horn and they're going for it. And it's interesting to see the countries that are younger are the ones where, you're getting these uprisings for the most part. But it is a global thing going on as well. There are more young people than ever before. About 41% of the global population of 7.7 billion is aged 24 or under. In Africa, 41% is under 15. In Asia and Latin America, where 65% of the world's people live, it's 25%. So in developed countries, imbalances tilt the other way. While 16% of Europeans are under 15 and about 18%, double the world's average, are over 65. Yeah, some countries are getting very, very old as well. So it's them that's leading the change. Well, at least it's them that's leading this uprising that we're seeing hitting so many places. And then we have Russia over here. They're going to test their ability to disconnect from the internet. You're going to see other countries looking at ways to separate us again. Yeah, that's really, what they're going to do, because we know that there are forces that gather all the information. I mean, look at Google, and look at Facebook. It was thought that, that's kind of quote unquote conspiracy theory to think that Facebook gathers your information, that they're watching you. And, many people will say Gmail stands for government mail. That's what it's all about. But it's, obviously turning out to be true. Yeah, that everything that we do is being watched. We see the social credit scores that they have over in China, and we learn that corporations over here are already doing that as well. And when we get down to it, it's a corporate world after all. It truly is. Most definitely, it's a corporate world. So it's a double-edged sword. Perhaps the technology, has been used to monitor us, to watch us, to know who's who and who views things in a certain way. But at the same time, it's enabling us to communicate as well, enabling us to learn about what's going on and communicate with each other globally. As you see here, as the Putin era begins to wane, Russia unleashes sweeping crackdown. They have really been cracking down as well. And this young lady here, she wrote an article. She's a freelance journalist, and she's facing 7 years in jail after being accused of publicly inciting terrorism because she was just talking about what was happening. She was talking about the riots that are going on. And so they said, well, you're fanning the flames, so you're a terrorist. And you know what? Most definitely, terrorist is the new witch. Don't you think? I really think so.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. It's absolutely, it's the new witch hunt now. It's just labeling things a terrorist. And most definitely, it's a new inquisition of sorts that we have going on. The Inquisition itself is a fascinating thing, and again, we get into what Santos Bonacci was talking about, how we've been so controlled by the Vatican. It's still the Roman Empire. It's just changed. It's just morphed.
Yeah, it's really curious. He was talking about our social security number, our registration number if you're in Australia, I think. I'm not exactly sure on the terminology there, but how we are put into a system and we are in the we're traded on the stock market.
Exactly. So, yeah, Fred says one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Yeah, and Ray Ray's right. It's maritime law. It is. You know, your social security numbers are traded, and you have a value. It all sounds crazy, but it's all actually right there. It's pretty amazing when you look into it. It really is. You know, our reality is not what we have thought it is. So I wanted to give you guys this too. 7 urban survival mistakes that could get you killed. Number 1 is bragging about your preps, especially just to people that you don't know, because, you know, they're going to head for you. And, you know, if you've ever watched, The Walking Dead, the dead are the least of your worries. It's the living in that series, you know, because it's, again, when you get into these type of situations, it brings out the best in some, and it brings out the worst in some as well. So, yeah, not a good idea to brag about your preps, and obviously not having a plan. You should always have a plan. You really should. Even if we're always only going to look at the bright side of things, which is wonderful, you know, and I understand that. But at the same time, not having a plan, it's just not practical. It doesn't make any sense. Breaking the law. So if you see people breaking through store windows and grabbing everything they can, you might be tempted to grab your share. Never in a million years. Never. It's just, you know, we're each different. But, you know, wrong is kind of wrong. I think most people would agree on that. But yet we do see it. We see it. We see, you know, the rioting, and then you have the looting going on. There's always people that will just take advantage of things. Shooting looters on sight. I would hope nobody would just go and start shooting looters on sight. I obviously, if somebody's threatening you, you know, or your family, you have to defend yourself. Neglecting home security. So, you know, if your plans to shelter in place, have you thought about how to make your home safe from intruders? So this is what I was kind of getting at, because, you know, we had signs that people were definitely in where we were staying. And multiple times there's been signs that somebody was in here, and they've kind of left things to let us know that they were in here. And so, you know, we got cameras now up, and honestly, and recording 24/7, just in case anything happens.
And if anyone else, you know, as far as the cameras go, they're really cheap. You can get a nanny cam for like $30, and it ties into your phone, so you get an app for it, so you can check what's going on anytime. So it's not that expensive, really, as long as you have internet.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, so we could view what's going on the phone, and also have the computer recording it as well. So, and then it's uploaded, you know, to a cloud, so we could see what's going on. And it was interesting too, because, you know, we shot out for a little while the other night, and there was a weird flash of light that showed up, and then a strange sound on the inside of the house that we really haven't figured out what that was. But it was just really bizarre. So weird stuff, very weird stuff. And let's see, Zola says, get Alfred app and you can use old phones as cameras. Yeah, in these days, most definitely, there's a lot you can do. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Gosh, thank you so much, Organic Farms.
Thank you so much, Organic Farms. I'm kind of I'm shaking. Thank you.
It's so appreciated. Thank you so much for your support.
You know, you guys are so good. It's so nice to connect with really good people. You guys make it easy. You do. It feels so good. Like today, I'm going to be like so happy. I'm going to be buzzing all day long because I've connected with people who are just like me, exactly like me.
And that's a beautiful thing. Vincent M says home security will not work if there is no power. Very true. You know, we do have a generator, which would give us some time. But yeah, it is very, very true. our long-term plan is basically we have a few places that we could stay, and so we, which is nice. And so, but the other thing is we're basically going to be on the road a lot. So we're living out of a trailer, a travel trailer. Right now we've just basically had tents, but going to do that. And because I've always wanted to, and it was in my mind since I was about 15 years old, to basically, I especially want to travel the West Coast, because I never really spent time on the West Coast. I just went to California once, been to Texas a few times. Now I've done a lot more traveling this year. So that's it's been great. But, basically everywhere, I've been everywhere east of the Mississippi. But I'd love to go up to Alaska. I'd love to go through Canada, obviously in the summer months. And then I'd love to go through Latin America, and as long as things are not falling apart, which, who knows? There's definitely a lot of, as we see, there's a lot of rioting, a lot of protesting going on in different areas. There's some of our Evolutionary Energy Arts family in Nicaragua. It was pretty scary there about not too long ago. There was some serious rioting going on down there as well. There's ominous signs in many different places around the globe that we're going to probably see more of this rioting going on in many other areas. And, let's hope that everybody can stay as peaceful as possible, because I've done several videos talking about Gandhi as well, and how he did affect positive change. India did get their independence. Unfortunately, as often is the case, all movements, even when they are successful, sometimes, often, corruption comes back in. It's just been what we've had with this system. And so we really need a new way of thinking. And we need some brilliant, maybe young leaders to help us in that.
Well, my daughter, one thing she's very adamant about is she doesn't believe in war, and she's really curious, why can't people just share? Why can't people just share? And yeah, she's pretty young, but sometimes the young have the best ideas. We can learn so much from our kids because they haven't been corrupted. They haven't been, molded by the system. And my gosh, our children, that's where it's at.
Zilla says we would love Ojai and Ventura, Santa Barbara. That'll probably be one of the places we'll go first. I think we're going to do some exploring through California and then head up to Oregon and Washington. If it was warmer right now, we would be doing it right now too. It just gets kind of chilly out there camping in 30 degrees. Done that before. And you could keep warm. If you guys remember Eric, he stayed out there for almost 9 or 10 months, just basically living off the land completely, totally being nomadic. And it's possible, most definitely. And Ray says get a recharge at Sedona. Yeah, I'm dying to go back to Sedona and Flagstaff. I love that area so much. And most definitely there's quite a bit of our evolutionary family over in that area as well. And had a really good time. We had a great time with Craig and Aaron. Last time we went down that way with them as well. Craig is somebody that actually interviewed me before. And he turned out to be a really good friend as well. There's tons of really good friends. There's so many people that we want to get out there and meet as well. Love New Mexico. New Mexico was always on my mind and heart since visiting Santa Fe. I love Santa Fe. Stayed in Albuquerque for a week as well. And most definitely love New Mexico. Priscilla says West Coast states not safe. Oh, thank you, Almost Buddha. You're welcome in Pueblo. Taos, yeah. I have not really been to Taos yet, but definitely want to check that out as well. I know Greg Braden, who is awesome. It lives up that way. Yeah, we like Nevada too. Nevada it's quiet and peaceful.
It's like living on Mars, kind of, where we're at. There's like no trees. The mountains are really naked, but it has a raw beauty to it. The mountains are so, gosh, they're majestic. There's really nothing like it. It's so unique.
Yeah, and I found, to me anyway, that like 108 in the desert doesn't feel as bad as, say, when I lived in Columbia, South Carolina. Sometimes it would be 100 and 100 there is so much more intense than 110 in the desert. Of course, you got to be really careful because you could dehydrate very quick out here.
Really quick, another reason why I keep the mineral salt solution ready, because it helps our cells absorb water and hold water.
Sandra says she liked Vegas. Yeah, Vegas, I don't know, for some reason it reminds me of Orlando a little bit. And I did live in Orlando area for a while. I do love Florida as well, so, but at the same time, oh gosh, in the really heavy populated areas, I'm super sensitive to energy. And I can't sleep when I just can't sleep. Like I went and spent 4 days, I think, in Charleston. Maybe it was about a year ago. And, I couldn't sleep. And I always wanted to be in downtown Charleston. I always wanted to stay in one of those, cute bed and breakfasts. And, I got a deal where, the room was like half off. But then I found I couldn't sleep all night because the energy was too intense. And, I'm too sensitive to it. So I like being like kind of out in the middle of the nowhere. It feels good. It's just kind of cleaner energetically.
It's peaceful and it is so healing here. When I moved from California to here, I had a lot of healing to do. And then I realized that there's quite a lot of portals that bring in healing energy here. It's not quite as good as like Sedona, so we don't have any of the vortexes to my knowledge. However, it's so quiet and serene, and we have the little burrows that I just absolutely love. And they run around and, they go visit people at the gas station, and if you let them, they'll stick their head right in the window and eat your apples or your nuts, whatever you got. They're just the sweetest little things.
Yeah. And most definitely, Michelle says it's the blue light on your phones and computers as well. Yeah, that definitely will do it for sure. Like we sleep in a room that has nothing in it, so that is good because I don't want to be around any of the equipment. It'll definitely keep you up, interfere with your sleep. That whole blue light thing, I know I had done a little bit of a report on it as well. It's not healthy. And just there's just so much energy around. One of our people, Barbara, I didn't see Barbara out in chat today, but she's going to be moving from her area in Florida more towards the center part of Florida, or coming either out west or maybe even heading to Costa Rica, or like she's just doing her research now, but she's going through a lot and she's super sensitive to the energies. So she just can't take it anymore. A lot of people have felt that as well. I mean, I love Florida. I had a great time. I so enjoyed being in Florida because I'm a beach type of person. But energetically, it was tough. And I was in Sarasota at first, and then I was down in Nokomis, and Nokomis has like maybe 10,000 people. It's not as big, and it felt a little bit better, but it still felt like it was too much for me as far as the energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the populated areas, they're difficult to get away from the energy because everywhere you go, there it is, and it's always kind of in your face, which makes it really nice out here. A little bit too isolated, but if I had to choose, I'd choose isolated even still.
Definitely. So going back to our list, refusing to bug out when you should bug out. So that could be a big mistake. And then not purifying tap water, most definitely. And they're recommending a Berkey over here. So we do have one of those. We have 2 distillers as well that we use. And, we still have other stuff stocked up as well. And so we were testing, as I said, we're actually testing the purified water that we get. And actually, it's been testing fairly good.
Yeah, it came out to like 1 parts per million, which isn't, it's a lot better than the tap water was coming out like 400.
Yeah. And I'm sure it'd be a lot worse in certain areas as well. So one of the other things I was trying to bring up, basically talking about why the youth are so different. So you've heard the term indigos and star seeds, and now there's crystalline kids as well. I really do think there is a difference in the souls that are incarnating. And, many of them are very, very awakened and can just see right through the system. And so they call it for what it is. I do think that's what's going on to a high degree, is that a lot of the people that are coming in, I think, you guys as well, you're coming in with a purpose because the system's a mess. And that's why we're here. We're here to help break down the system and to have it rebuilt in a positive way. Sandra says star seeds are everywhere. Most definitely.
It's a beautiful thing. It's wonderful because these kids are coming in. They don't like war specifically, and I think that's the exact right reason to be and to stay.
Exactly. So you see, like, what's an indigo child? They come into the world with a feeling of royalty and often act like it. They have a feeling of deserving to be here and are surprised when others don't share that. Self-worth is not a big issue. They often tell the parents who they are. They have difficulty with absolute authority without explanation or choice. And I always have had that, most definitely. Especially working for these corporations, it got to the point where I physically couldn't work for a corporation anymore because it made me ill, to know how they only cared about money and didn't really care about people, how everything was just about bottom line, profit. It got to the point where I just physically couldn't do it. I mean, I just felt like I would be throwing up if I stayed under the thumb of these corporations and the people that run them. The brainwashing, making everybody into little robots. How many of you have ever worked for a place where you have to do a script? You're given a script and you're supposed to say, like, hi, I'm Cindy. And, you didn't say it cheerfully enough. You got to really say it like you mean it, and then if you deviate off of a script, you get punished in one way, shape, or form.
Usually with money, they'll take away your hours or something.
Exactly. And if you could be a good enough little robot, then you're going to get promoted, then you're going to get bonuses, but you got to stay on script. I mean, how obvious is the programming?
I don't know how it is in other dollar stores, but this made me really sad. I went down to our little local dollar store, and they asked me if I wanted to help the company out and purchase a candy bar. And I'm like, no, I don't really want that. And they're all, oh man, because if we don't sell like 50 a day, we get written up. That is so horrible.
Yeah, I worked for companies like that as well. You could set, and we did set like a record. We had a record day, a record week, and then the next week we went and we had an off day, and everybody got written up and threatened with being fired. And this was the worst company I ever worked for was AAA, honestly. And it was horrible. AAA is good for people that are using their services. I think there's value in that, but my God, they treated their employees worse than any other corporation I've ever worked for. And sometimes it'll surprise you, with how badly some of these corporations that maybe we view in a pretty good light actually treat their employees.
My worst company, I think it was actually IBM, and we had to look at these little computer chips and make sure that they were good to go, and they were horrible. You had to work 12-hour shifts, and I mean, you just had to do, they were just so mean, and the morale was so low from a company like IBM. I really thought they would do better, but no.
So going back to the indigos, they simply will not do certain things. For example, waiting in line is difficult for them. They get frustrated with systems that are ritually orientated and don't require creative thought. They often see better ways of doing things both at home and school, which makes them seem like system busters, non-conforming to any system. They seem antisocial unless they're with their own kind, and if there's no others of like consciousness around them, they also often turn inward, feeling like no other human understands them. School is extremely difficult for them socially. They will not respond to guilt discipline, and they are not shy of letting you know what they need. And so, there's a little quiz here. I'll have all the links for you guys to see if you are an indigo. And then it gets into the crystal children, and the crystal children began to appear on the planet from around 2000, although some data or some date them slightly earlier. These are extremely powerful children whose main purpose is to take us to the next level in our evolution and reveal to us our inner power and divinity. They function as a group consciousness rather than as individuals, and they live by the law of one, or unity consciousness. They are a powerful force for love and peace on the planet. So these would be your, kids that are in their late teens, maybe going into the early 20s now, and this is who we're seeing a lot of these taking to the streets. And so it's pretty interesting when you look at everything that's going on. And you got to think, the consciousness is changing. Everything is changing. The system's falling apart. And so that's good. That is good. And of course, the controllers are going to do everything they can to maintain their power and their control. That is definitely the case. We know that. And that's why we're seeing a lot of stuff going on. Most definitely, we're seeing so much going on right now. And that's part of the bigger picture.
Yeah, it is. It's important, and for all of us to band together and really help hold each other up, give each other ideas, tips on how to make their life just a little bit better, is really important right now, because people are so miserable. Like, a lot of people are in their jobs and they're just trying to make enough money just to pay the rent, just to buy enough food, just to pay the mortgage, whatever, and they're just barely making it. So anything that we can do to make somebody's life just a little more bearable, a little bit sweeter, we're on it. I really want to help people. I do.
Most definitely. So Star Too Far says, does anybody believe in predictive programming? It's happening, I guess. Oh, most definitely. And we also are all so gifted by God. And so that's the beauty of it. When we tap into that unity consciousness, when we tap into the love and the compassion, then we can manifest amazing change. And that's what it's going to take. And we will bust the system. That's why we're here. It's all about busting the system. It's all about personal freedom. And it's through personal freedom, individual freedom of expression, and embracing the diversity that will find our unity.
Mm-hmm. And Sandra says, do something nice for someone every day and you'll feel good. And that is so true. So I guess in a selfish way, I do like to help people because it's good for my own heart. And also, like, if you're having trouble, like, the fastest way to help change your mood or change something, help your own self, is to reach out to somebody else. That's so critical right now.
It is. So many people are going through, there's so many people are going through hard times, and there's always people that are going through even harder times. So, as we reach out and we keep lifting each other up, we are lifting ourselves up as well. And that is so important. And that is something that we really need to focus on. We really need to focus on. Exactly. We are to serve others.
Yeah, there's service to self, service to others. It's always really good. You got to take care of yourself so you are strong enough to help hold up others. So, there's a balance there.
So we did a couple of surveys, which were interesting. And I want to invite again you guys, anybody that hasn't yet gone and subscribe to EE Arts. So that's the second channel. But we did some surveys as well, and it was really interesting, and I will get into that in another video a little bit in another upcoming show. But it was interesting. One of the questions was, what do you guys want to see more of? And basically it broke down to earth changes and hidden history on the main channel. Seemed to be the two things, and that was followed by more on prepping and survival, and more on the UFOs and the aliens as well. But hidden history and the earth changes were the two that were like neck and neck, like 35% and 34%. And then the other two were both like around 15-16%. And then the other survey we did was all about what do you really think are aliens, extraterrestrials? Are they all, just demons? And it was curious. We're going to be doing more surveys. So one thing I just want to ask you guys, like right now, do you prefer the live format as opposed to the videos? Should we be doing like lives on a regular basis, maybe every day, or 4 or 5 times a week? Do you prefer the interaction more than, say, just doing the videos, touching on the topics? That'll be the next survey that we put out. But also, just asking you guys that are right here, right now in the chat room, do you feel like we should be doing more lives? Chris Kringle says both. Yes, both. A good mix. Live is best. I love the interaction, because then we could like talk directly to you guys.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful, and
answer questions and find out what you guys want to hear most. And that's another important thing. Like, please, if there's something you want us to look at or cover, if you guys have questions, shoot us an email. We're checking the email all the time, and if we happen to miss you, please shoot another email, because we do want to get your feedback. It's very important.
And also, I want to apologize to Judy, because I keep forgetting, because we still have some prayer requests coming in. And so Judy in Florida has been going through a hard time. And so please do send prayers, love, and light to Judy. And I will dig up her photo, and we'll do it on a video as well. And then, I just want to send prayers to everybody out there, because we are all kind of going through this. Most definitely, we're all going through this together. We're barraged with all these energies all the time, and we've talked about all the toxins that are in everything that we're being exposed to. So we all need to support each other, and also send out our love and light to each other.
Absolutely. That's really important these days, and it's a wonderful time to be alive. It's my understanding that the cosmic rays we have coming in are changing our DNA, and isn't it curious how they tell us, stay out of the sun right now, or wear sunscreen, when the sunscreen we wear causes cancer, and they're telling us the sun causes cancer. Now, I think we're totally being upgraded, 100%, and it is a great time to be alive. Our bodies are changing, our minds are changing. Spacesuits are being upgraded, and it's a beautiful thing.
Most definitely. So, my friends, I want to thank you for joining us once again, and we will be seeing you guys again shortly. Thank you so much for all the super chats, and thank you for your support and everything. And again, just, if you're not subscribed to the second channel, please do, and join us over there. And if you guys feel so inclined, join us on Patreon as well. All the videos go up on Patreon. Some are Patreon only. All the ones that are on both YouTube channels will be here as well, and there's some conversation there as well. So I want to thank you guys so much. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I hope you guys enjoy your Saturday.
Enjoy your Saturday, you guys. Thanks for coming. I so appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are wonderful.
God bless, my friends. Namaste.
Namaste.